afternoon, everybody. That was a little video that we put together for our award ceremony with the associates, and just a little reminder of the fun that we've had during the year. Ruth, you're my special guest today, so come join me on the stage. Everybody give Ruth a hand. So this year, I'm going to try and have a guest, a department director, join me at every chat. Just kind of an introduction, and we'll talk a little bit. And Ruth's nervous, but she has no but reason to be.
I'm the guinea pig today.
Yes. Because we all love Ruth. And I tell people this all the time, that Ruth is by far the best community life services director I've ever worked with in my career. And I think she's the best in the industry, quite frankly. So I'm going to have a little chat with you, and I'll answer some questions that you've submitted to me and give you a little bit of an update. And then we'll spend some time getting to know Ruth and what she does here, which is a lot. And that's it. So good to see you all again. I see again there was nothing good on TV, so I have a good and I appreciate that. I always like to start off with a little humor. Every year in the middle of February, something wonderful and heartwarming happens. Tons of candy goes on clearance. Love is in the air, as if the air didn't already have enough problems. And why is this not an Olympic event? Snow shoveling. Agree with that? Young lady at the urologist, all things will pass. This is a reassuring to our patients with kidney stones. And I've experienced that in the last couple months, I understand. Remember when we were young and you pointed to that old man at the mall and said to me, if I ever try to leave the house dressed like that, shoot me. And I've experienced that in the last couple months too. I wasn't dressed that bad, but my wife said, I don't think you want to wear that today. He was on the road to success until March Madness kicked in. That's coming. So, COVID-19 and us, our numbers. We have 3 active cases of COVID right now. They're mild symptoms, and those folks are quarantined, much less than what we were. We were at like 45 at one point. We have no cases among the associates, which is good. These numbers are posted on the resident portal. You must log in using your password to see them. I will remind you that COVID is not the only thing we should be worried about. There is a little bit of a stomach virus going around right now. And so please continue to use your good hygiene techniques and making sure you're sanitizing and washing your hands often and not licking your fingers, and don't share utensils, and don't hug people that might be sick. And whatever you do, no matter how badly you want to, don't lick doorknobs or elevator keypads. That is not a good place to do that. Get a lollipop or something. Westminster COVID precautions, pretty much the same. Associates and visitors must wear a surgical mask in assisted living and healthcare levels of care. No limit to visitors for breakfast, lunch, and dinner starting March the 2nd. You'll be able to have guests for dinner. And we would ask that you, if you're having a table over 5 or more, please make a reservation so we can reserve that table. Guests are allowed in audience for activity programs, even this one. Quarantine only for those who are symptomatic. Continue to practice good hygiene, washing and or sanitizing your hands often. I love to sanitize my hands before and after I press the buttons on the elevator. Stay home if you're ill. Anybody ill today? Good. If you're not feeling well and are in doubt, please wear a mask as an added precaution. Visitation is allowed with no limit on number in healthcare. Everyone, including residents, must wear a mask at all times while visiting assisted living and healthcare. So you're okay in the Carlisle lobby, but when you walk into the fire doors for the assisted living, you need to wear a mask, okay? Please follow all precautionary guidelines, including wearing a surgical mask, screening in, and hand washing and sanitizing. We said that lots of times. Questions and answers. Question, when will the renovations to the bathrooms in the solarium and Laurel be completed? I was told today that it should be about 2 weeks. They're pending some fixtures, those have arrived. The renovations will be completed as soon as possible. Hope for that is next week. Question, what is the timeline for the work in the Windsor? We hope to have the work completed on the first and third floors by the end of April and early June, or May, May. It is our goal to be moved into the spaces in the Windsor by the end of May. When will the Rowan open? We hope to open the Rowan Restaurant and Cocktail Lounge on Tuesday, April the 4th, which happens to be my birthday. The hours will be 1 to 9 p.m. for the lounge and 4 to 9 p.m. for dining. And the rumors that I'm about 60 is not true. I'm about 50. Who pays for the corkage fee and how much is it? The resident that brings a bottle that contains any alcohol must be charged a corkage fee because we have a liquor license for our Laurel dining room. We also have a liquor license for the Rowan dining room. The corkage fee will be $1. $1. Will residents still be allowed to bring their own wine? Yes. Will there be a corkage fee applied? Yes. If so, what will be the charge? $1. And only on the Rowan and on the Laurel. The Bistro doesn't have a liquor license. So I tried to use the city system against them. They require us to pay for a food permit for every restaurant. So I said, well, if you're gonna make us do that, then we should be able to license each restaurant individually. And so we did not license the Bistro. We won't offer alcohol in the Bistro. You can bring your own bottles. But if you want to bring your own bottles in the Laurel and the Rowan, again, the charge is only $1. And you can use your dining dollars for that. In time, we hope to offer an attractive selection of wine by the bottle or glass or box. No, I'm just kidding. Seeing if you're paying attention. And beer in the Laurel dining room, and of course, all to be reasonably priced. We're not going to try to make a bunch of money on it. And yes, you may use your dining dollars for this, including the corkage fee. Does everyone pay the corkage fee or just the person bringing the bottle? The resident that brings a bottle that contains any alcohol must be charged the corkage fee. Just one fee for each bottle, okay? So not everybody at the table is going to get charged, just the person bringing the bottle. Okay, so if I gave a bottle to Ruth and Ruth carries it into the dining room, she sits it down on the table, Ruth's going to get charged the corkage fee. All right. If she gave me the bottle, I would be charged the corkage fee. Okay. Can one person bring the wine and another pay for the corkage fee? Can you use dining dollars for the corkage fee? No, the fee must be charged to the provider of the wine.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, are you upset? No. Yes, you can use dining dollars to cover the fee. If one brings the same bottle on several nights, I don't think any of you are going to be able to do that, but if you did, does one pay the corkage fee each time? Yes, you would. If your bottle lasts more than one night, you'll pay a corkage fee the next night for bringing that bottle. We're required to charge you a corkage fee by TABC. That was one of the caveats to getting the liquor license. So I tried to make it as reasonable as I could. But the idea is that we're going to provide you wine and beer and cocktails, and you won't have to bring it. Now you may want to, and when you want to, we're going to charge you that minimal corkage fee. Okay? I've never seen a bottle last several nights, though. And I think you all know that. Does it apply in the same way at lunch and dinner? Yes. In the Laurel and the Bistro. The Bistro does not have a liquor license, so there is no corkage fee if you bring your own. There will be no offering of wine, beer, or mixed drinks in the Bistro, okay? What if one brings a small container with a non-alcoholic mixture in it, or for that matter, commercial non-alcoholic drink? So if you bring Kool-Aid or something like that, we're not gonna charge you a corkage fee. There will be no fee for these types of beverages, okay? Moving on from the corkage fee. Why is the Preston Courtyard fountain not working? Well, it was drained to avoid freezing for winter. Unfortunately, the pump froze anyway and needs to be replaced. So, you know, plastic, they don't make them like they used to, right? So that's supposed to be replaced in the next week or two. And then we'll have the fountains back on. But as soon as we turn them on, there'll be a freeze and then we'll have to turn it off. But do you have a date for the solarium bathroom to be finished? I said likely next week. Where should overnight guests park and how should we label their cars so it will not be ticketed or towed? Security is working on a visitor parking identifier plaque for overnight visitors. They should be parking in visitor parking in the garage between Preston and Windsor or along the west side of the Carlisle. And we'll have those placards available for pickup at a reception desk. Security's gonna be working on that the next week or so. Can you please remind residents when to put out trash? I get this all the time. Please do not place trash outside on weekends. Please only place trash in the hall on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday before 9 a.m. Can you please remind residents to return carts where they were obtained or to call concierge reception or security to have them picked up? Yes. Please return all carts to their original location or call reception, security, concierge to have them picked up. We're happy to come pick them up. Will the rehab units, apartments now being renovated, created in the Windsor be open to Westminster residents as well as outside non-residents? Yes, that's true. Will Westminster residents have preferential access? Yes, of course. Westminster's residents are always our priority. But over the years, many of you have come up to me and said, you know, you wish that, you know, you had a friend or a neighbor or a loved one that could benefit from rehabilitation services. And in the past, we haven't been able to offer those services, but we will be in the future. So that's a good thing. I think it's a win-win for everyone. So I'm looking forward to having that ability. But you're always going to take priority, even over your neighbors and friends, right? We care about you most important. Can you update us on the status of the community signage? Yes. The bid came in I thought it was too expensive, so I told them to sharpen their pencil and try again. And so that's what they're doing. It was about $60,000 higher than I thought it should have been, and so they're reworking the bid as we speak. When they come in more reasonably, I'll likely pull the trigger and we'll finish the interior signage, but I just couldn't. I think we need to start our own signage company. If any of you are interested in that, see me after. Is there or will there be additional space for wellness classes in the Carlisle, similar to the fitness studio in the Windsor Commons infill? It's actually called Windex. I don't like that term. Windsor Commons. Yes, there is a space. It will most likely be used for assisted living and memory support residents, though. There is a fitness studio space within the Carlisle. But most of our classes and exercise classes will be contained in the fitness studio in the Commons. Can you give us some details regarding the makeover of the Arbor entrance? And I did that last time. I do have the slides in here, but pretty much what we're doing is just remaking the lobby. We're reconfiguring the administrative offices and creating a board meeting room that'll be beside my office. And then the first floor we're renovating, painting, carpet, flooring mostly. We'll be getting new furniture in there as well. And then in the assisted living upstairs, those will be converted to mostly independent living apartments, some guest room apartments, and they're receiving cooktops and a ventilation system or hood system above each cooktop. So stuff like that. Are there assisted living units that have direct access to the bathroom from a bedroom? Can the apartments be reconfigured? No, there are no assisted living units with that configuration. There is a direct access from bedroom to bathroom and memory support. No, the configuration cannot be changed. These are licensed areas and cannot be modified. So we went through a process of getting all of those life safety certified. Once they've come in and certified your building, you can't make modification without requesting a modification from the state. And that is a pain. So we won't be doing that. May visitors park in one of the garages? Visitors that are on site more than 20 hours a week. So if you have a loved one that visits more than 20 hours a week, let us know and we can allow those people to start parking in the Carlisle garage. We are trying to do what we can to take the pressure off of the visitor parking spaces above grade over the next couple of months, which should relieve some of the pressure off the visitor parking. We also have several active projects that are being completed that should help as well. The solar project is going on, that's taking up parking spaces. The Spectrum cable box project and the Spectrum Wi-Fi project is taking up parking spaces. So there's a lot of active projects right now. Once those stop, the construction project, the renovation, and the Windsor is taking up parking spaces. So once those things are completed, visitor parking should be a little bit better. But we're working, we really haven't filled the garage, so we're working a little bit at a time to allow more people to park in the garage. We're trying to figure out what the tier is to allow for those people to park in the garage. This is an example of what we're doing in the Windsor lobby area that's under construction now. At this point, most of the walls have been completed with sheetrock, and I'll show you a picture just to give you a little bit of an update. And then next, we'll be working on, now that we vacated the first floor, we'll be working on this space, adding a new entry lobby into that space, and then, like I said, replacing the flooring and a lot of the furniture. So you may have seen me running around like a chicken with my head cut off on the golf cart, flying back and forth and whatever. All of that was to get this piece of paper that said no deficiencies found. Mrs. Miller watched me as I tried to get us through this survey. It was very interesting, but we made it. And this was kind of the final piece for us on the Carlisle building, that and this permanent certificate of occupancy. All of this to say that it's finished. It's still got a few gremlins in it we're working out, but for the most part, it's a great building. During the survey, I had to help the state through some issues. One was lighting concerns, that when the generator was on and there was no full power, they were concerned there wasn't enough light in this corner. And they're come to find out their light meter wasn't working very well, so I gave them mine to use. And we found enough light together that they passed us on that. Then we had some water temperature issues, and they were trying to use a meat thermometer from like 1970. And so I gave them my water temperature gauge, and it worked out a lot better. We were missing 3 trees, which was really the landscaper's problem, but the environmental inspector wouldn't sign off on the project until we found these 3 trees. So I was able to source 2 trees up around Temple and 1 tree down around Houston. We got all 3 trees on site and put them in the ground. They're more like big sticks, but they were happy to see them there. They're about 22 feet tall, and the inspector was happy and he signed off. The last day of the life safety inspection, they decided to measure the dimensions of the bedrooms in the assisted living. And they had sent out an update, the state, in 2019, telling us that all bedrooms must be at least 10 foot by 10 foot square. And ours were. except for where there was a column. And, you know, in our grand scheme of being as residential as we possibly can and making sure that every space is usable, we put sheetrock and metal studs around our columns so that you could hang a picture if you wanted to. Well, that impeded into the dimension by 1.5 inches around the column. And so the surveyor said, well, I'm gonna have to cite you a deficiency, and we won't be able to give your life safety approval. And I said, well, what if I take the sheetrock and the studs down on those 14 rooms? Well, if you could do that, yeah, we could go ahead and approve you. I was like, we will work on it tonight, and over the weekend, will you come back on Monday? And he says, you gotta be kidding. You really wanna try and do that? I'm like, yeah, we wanna get this I need this building to be approved so we can move and start the rest of the project. So we did, we took down the studs and the sheetrock and we skim coated and painted the columns. You can't hang a picture on them very easily, but the state was happy and they gave us our approval. So all of that was done, and the state can't approve you officially until you have your permanent certificate of occupancy, which we were working on during the survey. And we had one inspector left to go, and he had already been on site 6 times, and it was the right-of-way inspector. And he had inspected the sidewalks and the curbs and the driveways and all those things. Well, the right-of-way inspector's boss decided to have the senior right-of-way inspector come and inspect the right-of-way inspector. And so he came out and he looked really angry when he got out of his car. It was a cold morning. I don't know if that set him off or what it was, but in the sidewalk in front of the Carlisle, there was a valve cover. And the valve cover sat down about 1/2 inch from the sidewalk, 2 of them that sat in the middle of the sidewalk. And he said, that's too far, it's only supposed to be 1/4 inch. I said, well, what if we put a metal washer on that and raise the valve cover to meet the sidewalk? Well, somebody might steal the washer. I'm like, well, we'll weld it on. Oh no, I don't like that solution. I think you just need to re-pour the sidewalk.
Oh, no.
So if you notice, we ripped up perfectly good sidewalk and replaced it in the matter of about 12 hours. We also repaired some curbs that had been, the concrete had sloughed off a little bit, and we did that as well. And we did all of that, and the right-of-way inspector came back, and he said, yep, looks good. He signed off, and we got those 2 pieces of paper, and that's the end of my story. Hooray! I lost a little hair over that, but we made it. Sound system in Harrisville Hall is working well, I think. Installation of new AV equipment in Harrisville Hall has been completed, except for those 2 drop screens right there that don't drop. So we're working on that, but the projectors work. The signage for the exterior has been completed. I told you about the interior signage. If anybody has a coupon for interior signage, come see me after. Ice storm cleanup was completed, except for damage to the carport. That was one thing too, the environmental survey guy, he said, hey, if you haven't cleaned up from the ice storm, I'm not gonna be able to clear you. But we have a new landscape company, and they cleaned up the very next day, so glad that happened. Spectrum Wi-Fi installation, Preston wiring has been completed on residences, Switch and WAPS next. Working on level 2 wiring completion for the Windsor, and then the switches and wireless access points will be installed. Keyless entry system is online, pending schedule for common doors. Most of the common doors have been completed. There's a few that are outstanding still. The solar roof project has been completed on the Windsor. They just finished the connection pieces, so they're almost done with that. And then the Preston will be next, and we have to submit that through the city for approval because we're touching something that's 56 years old. And we have to make some adjustments. The Carlisle installation grid will be soon. You may have seen them delivering supplies and moving that stuff up to the Carlisle. We had to wait until we got the warranty information and all that cleared before they could start their work. We're trying to complete these projects soon so that the government doesn't run out of money to pay us with. for that project. Remodel of the Preston ground floor continues. Hidden treasures, I think the cabinets are supposed to be installed this week and some shelving. The theater's finished except for the AV. Woodworking shop, we cut trenches to install electrical, and we have some installation of tools already happening. And the pottery studio, all of these supplies and equipment are here. It's just a matter of setting it up, right? No? Still waiting on what? On the wheels, okay. Boiler project Windsor, we resubmitted to the city with improvements. We also are upgrading the recirculating pumps on the Windsor. And when I asked for another $100,000 to help pay for the upgrade of the hot water boiler project on the Windsor. This should improve the supply and speed of which you get water to your apartments. And that project has been resubmitted through the city. Once it's approved, we'll start the work. We expect that to be May. Preston boiler project has been approved by the city, and we're working. We've already lifted some supplies, and we need to get the updated permit before we can start that work. The admin and lobby reconfiguration is being done currently. These are pictures of the back of the house behind the construction walls and the progress that they're making. You can see that the sheetrock is going up. The Windsor chiller has been repaired and the rental chiller is gone. We are replacing 3 chillers over the next couple months, or actually next few months. We believe that we should receive the new chillers at the end of April, and then we will install them in May, in early May. Hopefully before summer gets too hot, right? 2023 started off with a good amount of achievements. None probably as important as getting that permanent certificate of occupancy and the licensure approved. So, Westminster Associate Award Ceremony, I already showed you the video at the beginning, and I'm not going to show it to you again. Just a reminder, star cards can be used for any associate, including those in management and supervisor positions. If you want to thank somebody for going above and beyond, take some time and fill out a star card and give it to reception. And now, Ruth. Okay. So I just want to ask you a couple of easy questions. How long have you been here?
13 years.
13 years.
Going.
And what's your favorite thing about working here at Westminster?
Probably hear it over and over again, but I'm here. I love it here because of the residents. I enjoy working for you all, and I enjoy making it a fun experience for you to live here. And that's been the greatest blessing here for me. Meeting with you all, listening to your stories, and I learned so much on this job. As many of you might not know, or some of you might not know, I was brand new to Texas when I got this job, and I didn't know anything about the state or about what you would like, and when this job was offered to me, and I have to really thank my executive director for trusting me with this job, but giving it to somebody who knows nothing about the state. And I learned everything on this job. So I owe it to this job, and I owe it to all of you for being with me through these years, many of you for guiding me and for all the support I get. And I'm really blessed to be here. And I love working here. I love Westminster and I love the residents. That's why I'm here.
So if you look around senior living in other communities and you compare their activities to ours, there's no comparison, right? The amount of activities that you do just on a daily basis, it's probably 5 times what happens in most communities. So how do you create that? And what has brought it from where it was, like, I remember when I started working here that it was maybe 3-4 activities a day, and now you're probably doing 30 activities a day and trips and everything. So
Yes.
how did you get there?
So the
What-
first thing that was told to me when I was offered the position is the executive director showed me the calendar, and there were like 2 things on the calendar for a day, and he said, "This is your job to fill it." I didn't even know what it meant at that time. But I took it very seriously. And thanks to Google, I learned so much through Google too. I have to give it some credit. But I started doing things, and then they had never done anything in the evening. I think that was my biggest challenge, because it was unheard of to do any evening programs. I remember that there was a local doctor called Dr. Briscoe that many of you might know, I don't know. He used to play once a month at 7 p.m. in the chapel. That was the only evening program we had. And then I started bringing in programs, but the budget was the same, but he said, fill the calendar. So I had to get creative. So I called out, I made a lot of connections within the city, and made connections and good rapport with like Austin Chamber Music Center or Civic Wind Ensemble, many groups like that who were willing to come, and they were just waiting for us to ask. I remember when I contacted Mr. Peter Bay, he was shocked. I said, would you really come to Westfield? He said, why not? Nobody's asked me before. That's just an example. So people were just waiting for me to call, and they were willing to come and offer free entertainment, free programs for us. And that's how it started, because many of them could only give their time in the evenings. I contacted several local bands, music bands, and they would come on a Tuesday because that was a rehearsal night. And they didn't expect much in payment because anyway they were rehearsing that day, they had not going to take a gig that day. So it worked out perfectly because they would practice and then they'll say they need an audience. And I said, I'll provide you the audience and come and play for us. And so that's how it started. But when I started a 7 p.m. program, I got so much of backlash. I said, that's way past our bedtime. We don't do anything.
How many of you go to bed at 7 p.m.?
Not
I
anymore.
didn't think so.
But it was like that 13 years
I believe
ago.
it, yeah.
So, and then it just came to stay, and so I think that was my biggest challenge, but then it was also such a pleasure seeing that evolve, and that the residents went every evening, what are we having today? It went, now it's come to stay, so maybe it's kind of lost its novelty a little bit. But then when it first started, that was how it was, and everybody wanted to see what was happening every evening because they'd never had one before. And when I go to some of these conferences, as Chuck was saying, I still see that in many communities that they don't do many evening programs, which is quite sad. I think there's so much to do. I mean, the night is very young, so.
Who's on your activities committee? Are they?
Oh, I want to
anybody-
give a shout out to
Yeah.
my activities committee. They're wonderful. Ms. Woodrick is the chair, and Dr. Schneuz.
Who's on the
Yeah.
activities committee? Will you stand up and raise your hand?
Mr. Rowe.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. They come up with such wonderful ideas and suggestions, and my door is always open, my email.
Literally.
Try hard. And then so please, feel free to contact me with your ideas, your suggestions, even movies you want to watch, any trips you want to go, and I love hearing from you all, and I will make sure, I'll do my very best to accommodate that.
Yeah, I think if you look at the activities calendar, there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
Probably too much something for everyone. You're probably at times having difficult decisions on what I'm going to do today because there's so much going on. It's almost hard to keep up with, which I think is a great problem to have. You've got so many activities going on, and then exercise programs on top of it. You can't fit it on the calendar, so the exercise has to have a separate page, which I think is wonderful. And that's really what we want to do. I think Ruth said something really important, and that is a lot of the activities are resident driven. You're creating it. And what Ruth has been really good about is listening and trying to do the things that you want to do. And Ruth doesn't really like to speak in front of the public, but I think she has a really important message, and I'm hoping that this is kind of pulling her out of herself and that she'll join me in presenting this topic to others around the state, because I think there's some valuable lessons that Ruth to teach others, and we could really improve senior living around the state by her sharing some of the lessons that she's learned. And so that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to have her as a guest today, to really, it's not that hard to talk in front of people, especially when they love you.
I'm a behind the scenes person. I'm
She is.
fine up with residents because y'all are my friends, y'all are my
Yeah.
family, so.
And it's easy to talk in front of associates because you can fire them all. No, I'm just kidding. But it's hard, it's nerve wracking, but you know, they're just people. And I think one of the things that you've done successfully is really listen and hear what the residents are saying, and also challenging the status quo. Just because you didn't have evening activities, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try it. And then if when I first came here as the healthcare administrator back in the day, I started talking about activities, and back then they were doing current events, bingo 3 times a week, and sitter size, and that was about it. And I started asking questions. They couldn't imagine another activities program because they'd never experienced it before. So I started asking questions about, are there things in your life that you wanted to accomplish that maybe you haven't had the chance to? Or places that you wanted to visit that you haven't had the chance to visit? I can't maybe take you to Italy, but I can bring Italy to you. There are residents here that have visited Italy, that have taken wonderful pictures, have had great trips, and you can share those experiences with the residents in healthcare or other levels of care, and they get to go along on the ride. And then we can create programming that program the entire day around those things, and everybody gets to enjoy it. And I think that's made a big impact on the residents in healthcare, as well as assisted living and independent living. And that's the thing that I want, I talked to you all about trying to teach people to be resident-centered like Westminster is. And if we could do that around the state of Texas, I really feel like that could make a profound impact on the quality of care that we're providing in our senior living. So I appreciate you being willing to share that message. Does anybody, Maria, can you take Ruth's microphone? Does anybody have any questions for Ruth or for me? I have about 15 minutes.
I would like carts in the Carlisle so we can remember to return them in the parking drive.
We should have carts in the Carlisle. If we don't, we'll make sure we get them there.
I'm chairman of the activities committee meeting, and we could not do it without Ruth. We just
Absolutely.
come up with an idea, and that's all we have to do, and she takes over, and usually, almost always makes it happen, so she's very valuable, very.
She's the
Thank
best.
you.
Thank
She's
you,
the
Ms.
best.
Woodray.
Is there a reason that the B-wing door is not automatic?
The B-wing door.
In the middle of the B-wing. It goes out to the courtyard.
No, I thought it was automatic. You're talking about, oh, I know which door you're talking about. No, it never has been. I could check into that though. It's a good idea. How many use that door? Quite a few. Would it be convenient to make it? Most of our others are, so that would make sense, yeah. Ms. Miller?
I just want to say thank you for the transportation to funerals. That, trying to find these places, I've been almost every time in the last 3 weeks, and I've never been in these churches or these synagogues or whatever, and that is such a fabulous convenience. And to be able, Emily encouraged me, and Ashworth encouraged me to use the portal. You guys are putting your hearts and souls into. And you even, when you sign up on the portal, it'll go on your calendar, on your iPad, or your iPhone, or whatever. That is a fabulous.
The portal is great.
Yes.
Yes. The more you use it, the better it will be. That's right.
On the elevator that goes down.
Oh, the microphone.
An elevator that goes up and down the tower.
Uh-huh.
You know, you have to use now your fob to get in that bottom door in the garage.
Yes, ma'am.
If you can make it more than 3 seconds, because if you're carrying something that door and have to put it on the ground,
Okay.
it's too hard. Also, if you have an extra cart, if it was on the outside, so we could fill up the cart, bring it to the door and get in.
Okay, so the Windsor Tower, extending the time and putting a card on the outside.
Yes.
Okay, I think we can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, good suggestions.
You talked a month or two ago about installing an automatic door.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you doing that. Seems a really ironic situation around here. As one goes into the physical therapy section, one doesn't go into physical therapy if one is at one's strongest and most able to move around. But that is not an automatic door. And it's very difficult when you can't attract anyone's attention unless someone happens to go along with it.
There's a long story about those doors, but suffice it to say, those are not the permanent doors. Those doors are temporary. The doors that are supposed to be there have been on back order for quite a few months, several months. And they'll be hopefully delivered mid-year. Once they get delivered, we might be able to put an automatic opener on at that point. But right now, it wouldn't be a good idea, because like I said, those are temporary doors. But I agree with you.
Chuck, what is the status of the new art studio?
There isn't one. So, it's on, I haven't forgotten about it though, I remember my promises. The difficulty is that we have to wait until the construction project that's been permitted, right, is completed, which will be the end of April, early May. And then once that's completed, then we can go in and renovate that art studio space. But we can't do it until the inspector signs off on the work that went through the city approval process. So we'll probably start that in June. It'll take us about 90 days. And so by the end of the third quarter, I expect to have the new art studio open, okay? Yes, sir. Don't hurt yourself, Maria.
Safety first.
Recently, when we were in the Laurel dining room, and we had a guest, there's 2 of us, at the table, and she had a swallowing problem all set up. And so we wanted attention right away, and she didn't have her
Pendant.
what do we call this? Pendant. And so Ruth pressed a pendant. It took quite a while for the attendants to come. The reason being, they all went over to
Her
her
apartment.
apartment, and then came over, and that took about 5 minutes. And we have the triangular recognition, so we should, our people should go to where the pendant is, not the apartment.
So, and I'm sorry that occurred, and I'll re-educate everybody, but on their pager, all they have to do is press the down arrow button on their pager and it will identify where the resident is. The first thing that appears is the name and room number. And then if you don't press down the arrow button, you don't see their true location. So you need to, that's a training issue, an education issue, and I'll make sure that that's,
Okay, thanks.
yeah.
This is more curiosity, no problem involved, but on the original plans, the infill tower had the garage extension underneath it. And that space has never been opened up. Has the plan changed on that?
It's there, the garage is there.
But there's no entrance to it.
Well, the entrance has always been from the Windsor garage entrance. It just extended south, the garage, the entrance stayed the same.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but maybe I need to go look again. It's
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Okay, thank you. I'll
there's
check
a
that.
tunnel that makes it look like there's another entrance. That might be what you're looking at. That's south of that parking garage extension, but there's no other entrance. It's just the Windsor
No,
garage.
I knew there wasn't another
Yeah.
entrance on the plans.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
I'd like to, Chuck, just comment on two things. The first is, my wife and I have traveled the world because of my work, and we've been in most of the great concert theaters of Europe for sure. And I can't tell you how much it means to us, the way Ruth brings those great concert halls to us on Sunday night. We would not miss it. She's got impeccable, sophisticated taste. And I worry if you take her around, someone's gonna offer her a better contract.
Ruth, would you work for somebody else?
No,
right.
I give you my word.
But I just want to pay
Yeah.
tribute. It's a fabulous program, and there are so many of them, but that particular on 1890 is just a rich experience. And I want to pay tribute to her knowledge and sophistication, and especially to her willingness to find the best for us.
Yep.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And I want to ask one frivolous question, which my wife doesn't want me to ask. And that is, when the Carlisle started to go up, we lost our view of the horizon. And it was okay when it was just the garage that we did,
Yeah,
but it slowly disappeared. And then the final piece was the bridge. And now you're closing off the windows on the bridge. And I want to know, are the drapes always going to be closed? Because we could look through them
yeah,
and see a little green out there way, way, way away.
yeah.
And I just wondered, is that something that needs to be always closed?
I hadn't really thought about it, but maybe we could put them on a timer like we do some of the others. We could do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know we're gonna try and do that, or maybe we've done it already on the Veterans Wall, because I know that's been an issue. Maybe we can do that on that bridge as well. I don't really have a preference whether they're open or closed. I guess I kinda like them open. I don't see a reason to have them closed. It's probably just closed because somebody closed them. I'll open them up. Well, thank you all very much. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your